Hey everyone, welcome back to Winning Wednesday. Today I want to talk about something that may be the biggest roadblock to healing marriages: hopelessness. Recently I was listening to divorce lawyer James Sexton in an interview, and he was talking about what he sees in couples who end up in his office. One thing he said really struck me. He said many couples don't get divorced because of one big event. They get divorced simply because they lose hope. They look at their marriage, take a mental snapshot of how things are right now, and then convince themselves this is how it's always going to be. We'll never change. The only way out is divorce. But here's the truth: marriage is not a photograph, it's a movie. A snapshot freezes one moment, but a marriage is a story that keeps moving. If you look back through an old photograph album or just scroll back through your phone, nothing looks the same as it did 5 or 10 years ago. People change, circumstances change, relationships change. And the beautiful thing is this: you can direct that change. Your actions can shape the next scene of your marriage. If you start doing things that build connection, that build intimacy, trust, and kindness, your marriage shifts in that direction. If you do nothing, things stay the same or you drift. But if you take positive action, things can heal. And the good news is there's always hope. Now, I think it's good to take a look at what exactly are we hoping for? What do we expect the change to be? Where are we heading? What is the destination of our marriage? Where do we want it to be? And it involves two things. It's basically hope plus vision that kind of gives you that idea. So basically, hope starts when you stop believing the lie that this is how it's always going to be. Stop believing the lie of this is how it's always going to be, because that's not true. That's not the truth. It's going to change one way or another. You might as well make it change for the best. I mean, if you get to the point where you're willing to give it all up, that would be a huge change. So obviously change is possible, but why not take another look and say, let's change in the other direction? If that drastic change in the wrong direction is possible, well, that's great news, because that means that drastic change in the right direction is possible too. No season lasts forever, and marriage seasons are no different. You can rebuild emotional connection. You can rebuild physical intimacy. You can rebuild trust, and you can rebuild joy. They're all available. Your marriage can grow if you grow. Well, what are the benefits? What exactly are we looking or trying to get? So let's kind of flip the script and talk about what's waiting on the other side of hard work. Well, I know for me, some of the greatest things in my marriage are, well, basically having someone to have and to hold. It's not just part of your vows. It means that somebody's going to be there all the time. Waking up next to somebody who's warm on a cold morning is one of the greatest joys. It's hard to put into words how great that is. Having somebody to share, not only all the work of life, but all the rewards of life as a teammate. Knowing that someone knows what it took you to get where you are. When you have, an accomplishment or a goal at work, and you have somebody to celebrate it with, that's one of the greatest things in life, is having somebody with you that knows what it took you to get there. The people around you don't know how hard you work, but your wife does. She sees the sacrifice, she sees the time you put in, she sees all of the effort and the work that it took for you to get somewhere, and she can celebrate that with you for real. Another thing is knowing that someone has your back after a hard day, because things don't always go right. But if you have somebody to come home to, somebody that, basically takes your armor off and tends to your wounds and knows that, you've had a hard day, and is just there to be with you and to take care of you. Another thing is, having a consistent, fulfilling sex life, and all of the emotional and physical benefits that go along with that. They say that people with a good relationship live a lot longer. They're healthier in general. That's one of the benefits. And just um, not being alone in the world. Having someone who chooses you every day, that is one of the greatest benefits I know of. A partner in making memories, in laughing, having somebody there. You're parenting together, you're building a legacy together, you're, having just doing life together, and it creates stability and love and companionship and closeness. The list is endless of the benefits of fixing your marriage instead of giving it up. And these aren't small rewards. They're priceless. They're the things that people desire to have in their lives. And you can have them. That's why we fight for our marriages. That's why we don't give up. And that's why we don't let a moment define our future. Your marriage isn't stuck in a snapshot. It's a movie, and you get to write the next scene. If you want hope, take one step today in the direction you want your marriage to go. Doesn't have to be perfect, just take a step, and then tomorrow take another. That's how you build something worth keeping. That's how you win. That's it for today. I'll see you Friday. Thanks for listening.